Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 lai. Okay, I know the words are a little tricky, but you can do it. Try it with me. Yai, lai, yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. That's it. Same thing again. Yai, lai, yai, lai, lai, lai. Go up. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to everybody. Welcome to everybody who's watching online. Shabbat Shalom. I'm looking over there to see you. There are a lot of you online tonight, and we're glad that you've joined us for worship. We're going to begin our service with the lighting of Shabbat candles, and our candles will be lit this evening by tomorrow morning's bar mitzvah, Ben Schmidt, along with his parents, Joel and Lisa, and his sister, Rachel. Please turn to page 3.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Let's share simchas. Simchas are good things that happened to you during the past week that you can relate in one sentence. Those of you online, you know what? If you got a simcha, put it in the chat. We'll see that as well. Who's got a simcha from this week that you would like to share? Anybody? Good things that happened this past week. GP?
I don't want to brag, but I became Jeopardy in history class for the 9th time in a row.
There's a champions level, you know? Yeah. Okay. Other simchas? Simchas from this week?
So, Trish Monroe says my mom's house is sold and we're on a great road trip to California. So far, so good.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Trish relates that her mom's house has sold and they are on a road trip to California. We're looking forward to it.
Sandy's oldest friend since 4th grade visited us.
Merlin relates that Sandy's oldest friend since 4th grade came to visit. Well, let's continue in the prayer book on page 6, and Yvonne Gordon-Rothman's going to lead us in our next prayer.
We enter this sanctuary, this is larger, to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice. Its presence guided our ancestors to lap away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. Doesn't look any bigger.
This is, the theme of this prayer is one that I'm going to return to in my remarks later this evening about entering the sanctuary, what it means to be in this sacred space. Page 13. Look down to the bottom of the page in the Hebrew, the fourth line from the bottom. Ya'alo Sadai B'chol Asher Bo Ya'alo Sadai Ay 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 Ya'alo Sadai B'chol Asher Bo Ya'alo Sadai Ay 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 Az Yiradenu Kol Atzei Ya'ar 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 Ya'alo Sadai B'chol Asher Bo Ya'alo Sadai Ay 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 Ya'alo Sadai B'chol Asher Bo Ya'alo Sadai Ay 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 Az Yiradenu Kol Atzei Ya'ar 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 Ya'alo Sadai V'chol Asher Bo Ya'alo Sadai Ay 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 Ya'alo Sadai V'chol Asher Bo Ya'alo Sadai Ay 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 ay. Page 26, I'd like to invite up any 6th, 7th, or 8th graders from our religious school to come help lead us in Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitgadol v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah. Amen. Be'omar divarach yurtei v'yamlich malhutei v'chayechon uvyomechon u'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael ba'gala ba'gala u'vizman kariv v'meru Yeshmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam Olam Me'omaya Yitbarach Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yipa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shemei Dekudesha Brichu Le'elam Mincho Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Damin ram be'oma v'meru.
Amen. Thank you. Yai lai 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 Yai lai 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 Yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. Baruchu et Adonai, Hamivorach, Hamivorach. Baruch Adonai, Hamivorach. Leolam, Leolam Vaed. Praise be the one to whom our praise is due. Praise be the one to whom our praise is due. Praise be the one to whom our praise is due, now and forever. Yai lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai, yai 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 lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. You may be seated. We continue on page 30. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach she'arim, uvitvuna mishaneh itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Uma'avir yom umevi laila. Umavdil bein yom uvein laila. Adonai tzavaot shemo. El chai v'kayam. Tamid yamloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai. Ha'ma'ariv aravim. We continue reading together on page 32. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Israel. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Ve'ahavta Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'diparta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam leod al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'kshartam leod al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha taftam u'taftam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha u'visharecha u'kshartam leod al yadecha v'hayu letotafot tafod beinenecha. Muktavta, al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, uvisharecha, ubshartam leod al yadecha, v'hayu letotavod beinenecha. We continue on page 41. Debbie Balendorf is going to lead us in our next prayer.
Sing the song of men and women, joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace.
The prayer on the next page, Hashkivenu, has a lovely setting in Hebrew and English in the songbook on page 14. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 Page 45 in the prayer book. Let's read together. We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. We rise for the tefillah.
Ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da. Adonai, Sifatai Tivtah, Ufiyah Tehilatecha Adonai Sifatai Tivta Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah El Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imahot Umevi Gula Livnei V'neihem Leman Shemo B'Ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah Atagi Borlo Lamadonai Mechayeha Kol Atarav Lahoshia Morid Hatal Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed Mechayeha Kol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Micha Mocha Bal Givurot Umido Melach Melech Remi Umechaye Umatzmiach Yeshua V'nemana Talachayot HaKol Baruch Atah Adonai Mechaye HaKol Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh U'Kadoshim B'Chol Yom Yehallelu Selah Baruch Atah Adonai HaKadosh.
You may be seated. Please read with me. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. On the next page, you see the prayer Ritzeh, and the term for this prayer is Avodah, worship, and you can find the setting for this in the songbook. Oh, what page is that on in the songbook? Let's see if we can find it. Points to anybody. Page 30. Thank you very much. There you go. Page 30. Say Adonai Eloheinu Ve'amecha Yisrael U'tefilatam Yahava tikabel. Humbled in prayer we seek to reach you, hoping to be heard. Hearts open wide, longing to be true. Oh, let us know that you are near. Open our hearts so we may hear the still clear voice within us all. May we be worthy in our prayer and feel your presence everywhere. May we answer when you call. Amecha Yisrael. Utefilatam be'ahava tikabel. Oh, let us know that you are near. Open our hearts so we may hear the still clear voice within us all. May we be worthy in our prayer and feel your presence everywhere. May we answer when you call. And may you answer when we call. Let's say Adonai Eloheinu. Let's say Adonai Eloheinu. The final prayer of the Amidah is the prayer for peace. And rather than read the prayer in the prayer book this evening, I'd like to share a poem with you on the theme of peace. This is called The Big Ask by Rich Orloff. To God, to my ancestors, to anyone who will listen, I ask and pray for this. Bless me with a peace that's deeper than happiness, that makes room for profound sorrow, that accepts pain and loss, that's not dependent on good news. Bless me with a peace that comforts me when I feel anguish, that steadies me when I feel uncertain, that expands me when I think small, that finds a way through my fiercest resistance. Bless me with a peace that stretches beyond my horizons, that heals even if I can't explain why, that offers delight as an everyday gift, that allows me to see blessings. Bless me with a peace that is a refuge from torment, that is an oasis from yearning, that is a sanctuary from trauma, that transcends all else, but never denies all else. Bless me with a peace that renews my gratitude for life and that I can access every time I let you in. Let's take a moment for silent prayer. The middle of page 62. Yehiyu liratzon imrefi vehegyon libi lefanecha. Yehiyu liratzon imrefi vehegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri ve'goali. Adonai Tzuri, This time in our worship, we ask for healing for members of our congregation and their loved ones who are ill. If you are praying for healing of body or healing of spirit for a loved one, I invite you to share that person's name with our congregation. For those of you watching online, I invite you to share those names in the chat, and for those here in the sanctuary, to share their names out loud as my eyes pass yours. Grace Carper. Mildred Fine. What was that? Howard Fine. To those whose names we have said out loud, we add those whom we hold in our hearts. We say, Baruch atah Rofei HaCholim. We pray to God, the source of healing. Let us say, Amen. I'd like to imagine for a moment entering the sanctuary and immediately feeling at ease. The space is familiar. Or even if it is new, it has all the things you expect to see in a Jewish sacred space. The faces are familiar, people you know and trust, or they are family you haven't seen in a while. It feels right. You are at home. Now, imagine the opposite. Not something in the design or architecture of the room, but very simply seeing something amiss. Imagine seeing someone who has done something disreputable. The space is the same, the prayers are the same, but your experience is not. A few years ago, I saw a film in the making called A Kaddish for Bernie Madoff. We all intuitively grasp that our own experience of the sacred is bound up not just with the language of prayer, but with the integrity of those with whom we share sacred space. This was all brought to mind as I began thinking about the theme for our upcoming Shavuot study session, which will be on the topic of what makes sacred space sacred. Cue back to the prayer that Yvonne read at the beginning of the service this evening. In particular, I was drawn to considering the exact same issue through the lens of our most ancient poets, the authors of the Psalms. Psalm 15, for example, is one of the most familiar psalms, and its concern is entirely with the relationship between personal integrity and sacred space. It's a short psalm, and it begins like this: Adonai, Holy One, who may dwell, who may sojourn in your tent? Who may dwell on your holy mountain? The one who lives without blame, who does what is right, and in his heart, her heart, acknowledges the truth, whose tongue is not given to evil, who has never done harm to his or her fellow, or borne reproach for their acts toward their neighbor. Now, here's how this psalm was probably recited at the temple in Jerusalem almost 3,000 years ago. It may have functioned as a kind of dialogue between the priest in the temple and the worshiper coming to the temple in Jerusalem. It was a back and forth in which the priest would ask the question, who may sojourn in God's tent? And the worshiper would then reply, the one who lives without blame, who does what is right. Think about the language in the psalm. Who may sojourn in your tent? Who may dwell on your holy mountain? God's tent is a metaphor for the temple itself, which sits on the highest point in Jerusalem, which is called God's holy mountain. To say that the worshiper sojourns there implies that he is a guest. It is God's home. We are welcome if we conduct our lives in a way that brings honor to that sacred space. What is remarkable and enduring in this psalm is that it is totally devoid of any ritual requirements to dwell in God's house. The emphasis is entirely on moral behavior. Think about that image of the temple as a tent. Our ancestors were shepherding nomads. The stranger who is welcomed into one's tent is guaranteed the protection of one's host. The implication is that those admitted to the temple may be assured of God's grace. Now, these images may seem anthropomorphic to us, but the function of the psalm transcends its point in time. The Talmud relates that Rabban Gamliel of the Sanhedrin would, quote, weep when he read this psalm. Why? Because it caused him to reflect on his own personal shortcomings. One who does what is right, whose tongue is not given to evil, who has never done harm to his fellow. This is not a psalm that one reads lightly. The psalmist never says, you can't come in if you didn't observe Shabbat, if you failed to fast on Yom Kippur, if you didn't bring the required offerings on the festivals. Rather, the sanctity of the space is a reflection of the moral fiber of the community, our kindness to one another, our ability to speak with consideration and respect. Synagogues are sacred spaces too, and we are sojourners in God's tent. There is a sense of peace that comes from being here, but that is entirely contingent on how we treat one another, how we speak to one another, and the integrity with which we conduct our personal lives. What makes sacred space sacred? I think we need to look beyond the architectural or even ritual requirements. Our ancestors certainly did. Let's talk about it. I hope you will join me and Rabbi Zoe McCune of Temple Beth Torah for discussion about this ancient question when we meet for Shavuot evening services here on Thursday, May 25th. In the meantime, consider this. For this brief moment, we are all sojourners in God's tent. The calm, the peacefulness that we experience here is a manifestation of what a gracious host extends to his or her guests. We honor our host in turn through the grace that we extend to one another. Well, let's find out what's going to happen in this sacred space during coming weeks. Susie Mosca, events chair of our congregation, has our announcements this evening. Susie?
Shabbat Shalom. I'm Susie Maska, events chair. Thank you, Rabbi Milder, for leading us in worship. I would also like to thank our tech mensches for doing the behind-the-scenes work for the service to be live-streamed. Thank you to the B'nai Mitzvah class Chavara for hosting the Oneg this evening. Torah study will take place tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Shabbat morning services will be held tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m., led in great part by Ben Schmidt. Please consider hosting an Oneg. This could be in honor of a birthday, anniversary, or in remembrance of a yahrzeit. Join the Shavuot date with Tekiah music Sunday, May 21st at 10 a.m. As Rabbi Milder said, the Shavuot service and study session will be held Thursday, May 25th in the evening. Please consider providing food for the oneg following the service. The CBE annual membership meeting will be accessible in person and online, and I think in person they're trying to lure people with a buffet dinner, and will take place Tuesday, May 30th in the evening. More details can be found in the Once Around. Shabbat Shalom.
We are in that period of time between Pesach and Shavuot, the counting of the Omer, when our ancestors brought offerings of grain. It didn't make the temple more sacred, but it was a ritual requirement. We're going to count the Omer, which you can find the blessing for on, I'm going to get that in 1 second, page 278. Page 278. The blessings in the middle of the page. Please join with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer hayom shloshim yom shehem arba'a shavuot u'shnei yamim la'omer. Today is the 30th day of the Omer, which equals 4 weeks and nice. 2 days, well done. quick math there. We continue now with Aleinu on page 282. We're chanting the Aleinu in the middle of the page. I invite you to please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol l'ateit gedula liotzer breshit shelo asadu kegoye ha'aratzot velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama shelo sam chelkenu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu shehu noteh shamayim v'yosed haaretz u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim mima'al u'shchinatu zo b'golfei miromim hu Eloheinu ein od emet malkeinu efes zulato kakatu b'torato v'yadata yom v'hashevota elevavecha ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim b'shamayim mimal ve'al haaretz mitachat ein od. Page 287. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
You may be seated. Judaism teaches us the sacred duty of memory. On this Shabbat, we remember those whose yahrzeit occurred during the past week. I invite those who are observing yahrzeit for the following to rise as I recite their names. Shirley Baukner, John Burris, Herta Cohn, Joan Freres, William Keir, Estrella Laredo, Theda Levinson, Louis Loeb, Alice Mazer, Leo Nussbaum, Sala Tabak, Linda Trackman, Ed Wagstaff. And I invite all who are observing the first year of mourning to rise at this time. Zichronam livracha. May their memories be a blessing. We rise as one congregation, united by memory and compassion, to praise God's name. Mourners' Cottage may be found on page 294. Yit Gadal, Viet Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, Ba'alma, Divrach, Rute, Viam Lich Malchute, B'chayechon, Uviom Echon, Uv'chayed Echol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala Uvizman Kariv Imru Amen. Yehe Shemei Rabbah Mevarach Le'alam Ulalmei Almaya. Yit Barach, Viet Tabach, Viet Ba'ar, Viet Romam, Viet Naseh. Viet Hadar, Viet Ale, Viet Halal, Shemei de Kudisha Brichu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechmata, da'miran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, huyaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Let us say together, you may be seated. Following our closing song, we're going to gather together in the back of the room to join together with Ben in Kiddush and Motzi. So as you come into the back, please pick up a cup of wine or grape juice. The red cups will be wine, the white cups are grape juice, and pick up a little piece of challah, and we'll say the blessings together before we enjoy our Oneg Shabbat. And our closing song this evening is on page 322, Ein Kelohenu. Ein Kelohenu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kimalkeinu, Ein Kamoshienu, Mich Eloheinu, Mich Adonenu, Mich Yemalkeinu, Mich Moshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Yemalkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. Shabbat Shalom. And Shabbat Shalom to everybody online. Yeah, I saw there was a little chat comment there, but I didn't quite